the next topic we are supposed to, one more type of tissues which we are supposed to study is the permanent tissues. Now what is permanent tissues? A type of tissue or a group of mature cells which after undergoing complete differentiation, which have lost the power of cell division, means they do not undergo any type of cell division anymore. Okay. Now this type of permanent tissues may have thin walls as well as thick walls. The cell wall composition, either it will be thin wall or thick wall. The permanent tissues which are made up of thin walls are almost living in nature, and the permanent tissues which are with thick walls, either they may be living or some may be non-living in nature. These tissues develop from the meristems. This type of permanent tissues are coming from the meristematic tissue. There are two types of permanent tissues, like we have primary permanent tissue and secondary permanent tissue. These permanent tissues arise from the meristematic tissues, and these are again divided into two types. Those are primary meristematic tissue and secondary permanent tissue and primary permanent tissue. Permanent tissues are also developing from the meristematic tissue, primary permanent tissue, secondary permanent tissue. If this permanent tissue is developing from the apical initials or apical meristematic tissue, if a permanent tissue develops from the apical meristematic tissue, then that is called as primary permanent tissue. If we see the development of the permanent tissue from the lateral meristems, if there is a development of permanent tissue from the lateral meristems, then that is called as secondary permanent tissue. Okay. So permanent tissue are again of two types, primary and secondary. A permanent tissue arising from the apical meristems, it is primary permanent, and from the lateral meristem, as we studied earlier, then that is called as secondary permanent tissues. Okay. Now basing on the number of kinds of cells involved in the formation of the composition of the tissues, number of cells involved in the composition of the tissues, permanent tissues are again divided into three types. Basing on the number of kinds of cells involved in the composition of the tissue, permanent tissue is of two types. Those are simple tissue and complex tissue. Simple tissue is a type of tissue which have the same cells, same structure, same origin of the cell is same type of cells. Now complex tissue are different origin or different types of cells. Same type of cell, same origin, structure and function, then same type of cells are called as simple permanent tissues. If the complex tissue is a type of tissue which has two different types of cells performing the function. So for example, in complex tissue we will be studying about the food conducting and water conducting tissue, xylem and phloem. Okay. Now we will study in simple tissue, we will be studying about parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma.